Well, good morning, Reggie. How are you doing this morning?
What's going on, my friend? How are you?
I'm doing good. Not every day above ground is a good day, as I say. Uh,
No doubt about that, right?
I see the draft has already started here.
It is
And
underway. It is underway.
let's see. The first pick, of course, Justin Jefferson by who's
That was
this?
me.
That was you. You had first pick.
I had
Huh?
first pick for yes for the first time ever in my short fantasy career. It's only about 4 years. I had the first
Uh,
pick. Very
uh,
happy about that.
So yesterday you participated in my other fantasy league, and I did a
Yeah.
different format where you didn't snake until the third round. How
Mhm.
did you like that draft?
I was hoping it would be like that today when I had that first pick. I was hoping. I was like, man, I got nixed on. I had the later pick yesterday. It was interesting because it wasn't something that I prepared for, but I will say that it didn't matter that much because some of the players that I wanted dropped to me. So this I took the same players I would have taken even if it had snaked. So it didn't really matter.
Well, my first pick in this draft is going to be Saquon Barkley.
Going
Uh,
with that running back build there, huh? Right off the board.
let's see. Sacramento went with Christian McCaffrey. Uh, Mr. Robinson went with Jamar Chase. And of course, as I said, with the fourth pick, I went with Saquon Barkley. Um, I'm drafting in another league where I'm actually number 10. And I
Okay.
kind of like it. And I
That
kind of
10
like it.
pick's not a bad because of that turn. It's not a horrible pick.
If you're a snake.
Correct. Correct. Horrible pick yesterday, those first couple rounds gonna be rough for you.
Yeah, yeah. But I thought it was, I thought it would be a different format. I'd never done it before.
It's
Uh,
interesting. It's interesting.
you know, I think it's kind of like a little more realistic as far as drafting. It's your position in the draft. The last team in the first round doesn't automatically get the first pick in the next round. So
Correct.
I thought it was a little interesting there, and I might try it in some other leagues. Uh,
You had a nice team yesterday. You came away with a pretty solid squad there.
yeah,
You had a few of the teams.
I did, and that not snaking really helped me out. You know, so I can't really complain. Uh, I think. Where did you say you were number 8?
Yes, I was number 8. So I picked 8th, 18th. So the 28th pick is the pick I would have had if we had snaked anyway. So it's really only one pick that's different, and that's that 18th pick. So instead of picking like 8th and then picking 13th, if it was a snake, I picked 8th and then I picked 18th. Because of the 10 player difference. But it was only 1 point different or one pick difference and about 5 spots roughly than where I would have picked before. And I got the player I would have took anyway. So it ended up working out for me. But I had done so many mocks, James. I had done the mocks, and the mocks, you don't prepare for this stuff like that. So when that happened, I was like, yo, my turn's not coming up again. My strategy was out the window. I had to just wing it after that. I'm gonna wing it today too. I don't have any strategy. I'm coming in today. I'm just winging it, taking the best players that is on the board, whoever's there.
Well, as I said, last year I came away with the win, so I couldn't present the T-shirt to myself.
Yeah, you could
But
have wore it, man. You could have wore the shirt. You could have wore your shirt yourself if you wanted to, man.
But as everyone is aware,
I feel like that
we
shirt's gonna look great hanging on my wall right there, right
we,
behind. I'm gonna hang it up
we,
just for you guys.
we have our own version of Yellow Jacket, the yellow T-shirt. So yeah, it's hanging up on your wall.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna hang it up just for these shows. It'll be the only background y'all see for a year if I win that thing.
But I thought it was nice to have some type of trophy. Uh, you know,
What did you have 2 leagues last year? Like you have? So I noticed you had the 2 leagues this year. Did you have the 2 leagues last year also?
Yes. Different format though. Both of them were snake. Like I said, this year I just decided to try something a little bit different. Uh, Seeing as how I invest a lot of time in fantasy football, I'm retired, so
Dang.
this is my time of year.
Is it? Okay, so that means you should be coming away with another W then, is what it sounds like.
Oh well, hey, if I'll either be, to me, I'm either first winner or first loser. Either one of those, first, second,
that means you're making it to the playoffs, right? On a pretty consistent basis. If you're there, at least you're making it to the playoffs, giving yourself an opportunity.
Oh yeah, I mean, usually unless I get a team where a lot of my guys get hurt or something like that, I usually come away. It's surprising how usually the team that has the least amount of keepers is usually the first team. Whatever the can't drop list.
Mm-hmm.
I've found that other than usually the quarterback and wide receiver positions are now becoming the most valuable. When I first,
they moved up the boards a lot, and it used to be running back, right?
right, when I first started out, in fantasy football, which was 2012, yeah, it was you were running back heavy.
Yeah.
Now, it's and that was one of the questions that I asked Wednesday. When you come to devaluing the running back position,
Yes.
you want your running back to do more, because now, before running back, he carried the ball, he blocked, maybe a couple of swing passes. Now you expect your running back to block. You expect him to throw passes. Is that me? Oh,
That's like Demetrius, right? Who's on the clock right now?
that was
Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has been, man. What about What's interesting? The Derrick Henry situation is very interesting because we've seen him up and down boards. He let me down a couple years ago. I picked him. He was beasting, and then he got injured, sank my season instantaneously. But he doesn't really catch a lot. This is a PPR league, right?
right.
So, and he doesn't catch a lot of passes. Derrick Henry doesn't catch a ton of passes. He's a beast at the back. He's a beast of a back, though. Is he over 30? I think he's. I don't know if he's on the wrong side of 30 here, pushing 30.
He's pushing 30. He's definitely pushing 30 if he's not over 30.
That's the running back cliff we're approaching. We'll see if it happens with him. He's an extraordinary player.
That's what I'm wondering. What's going to happen when some of these players like Derrick Henry, is Derrick Henry going to be the next Josh Jacobs?
That's interesting. That'd be interesting, right?
Yeah, because the landscape is changing. So it's going to be and it's also interesting to me how many now you see kickers and defenses being ranked above some of your second year wide receivers. And
that's interesting. I'm not really about that myself. I'm gonna kind of push those picks to the end of the draft, no matter what the ADP says. I'm gonna kind of push those down a bit for me. There's no kicker or defense I like enough to take him in like the 10th or something. You know what I mean?
But now, if you're the last pick, though, like in round 2, would you be willing to take Justin Tucker?
Justin Tucker, I feel like maybe there's a premium on somebody like that. Maybe I jump around higher. But even for that, I mean, maybe I take him 11th-ish, and that's still kind of high to be for a kicker. So maybe I take him around there, but I'm not really super high on those kickers because I believe you can stream the position for the most part. Same thing with defenses. You can stream it depending on what the matchup is. Last year, I remember in my leagues, It was anybody who was playing the Houston Texans. You want to start any defense that was playing the Houston Texans, you want to start. And that's what a lot of my teammates on the waiver wire every week trying to get that defense that's starting the Houston Texans or that's playing the Houston Texans. So I believe you could take those picks very late, but I guess there is something to having an elite defense and kicker out there to a certain degree, I guess. Got
Well,
auto pick in here.
Like I said, to me, it kind of depends upon what position is in the draft. Because if you're number 10 or 12, then you are getting that first pick in the 11th round.
Right.
So,
man, my running back value is not looking great here.
I'm not doing bad right now. So let's see, I'm 17 picks away here. So right now, let's kind of get caught up here. Let's see. We have Nick Chubb taken by who's that? Who took Nick Chubb?
That's like a
Team Jabbar, just like Jabbar Banks. Team. He also took C.D. Lamb. Then Garrett Wilson. Ahmad St. Brown was taken by Sacramento Golden Lions. A.J. Brown was taken by who's that? Sully County. Josh Jacobs, Team Kendrick, Jonathan Taylor.
JT is interesting because we don't know where he's going to land, right? Like if JT lands in like Miami, it's going to depress the value of people like Mostert and stuff out there who are already out there. All right, so here it is. I think I'm going to have to. Do I go ahead and get Mahomes now? I think I might have to do that. No way he makes it back to me. No way he makes it back to me. So let's Mahomes or Hurts. Which one do I want to do? I'm drafting a lot of. This is interesting. I think I'm going to take Mahomes here. Let's go ahead and get Mahomes out the way. Which is very high, like we said. A lot of the quarterbacks weren't really going second round like that back in the day. You could wait a long time for your quarterback. I've been seeing Mahomes go first, second round. A lot of drafts this year. More so second than first.
I'm actually surprised to see Mahomes on the board because a lot of teams. I kept Joe Burrow and Josh Allen, even though because I didn't know if there would be a Mahomes available. But I'm looking at Mahomes and Hurts. So
take Joe Mixon. I need a running back. Man. I'll take Joe Mixon. Has somebody already taken? Hold on a second.
Wow, look at Lamar Jackson's out there. I should have. I might have to run 3 quarterbacks this year. Jesus.
It's interesting to see that Mark Andrews went before players like Patrick Mahomes and stuff like that. I noticed that Mark Andrews wasn't on the board. He went pretty early.
Well, you got probably nine players that aren't on the board. I know Bill kept 3 players. I think I kept 3.
So explain to people like me who've never played in a keeper league before, how does that system work? I know that with the draft that we did yesterday, it's 2 players that we're going to keep in the draft yesterday, and it's 3 players in this particular draft. So how does that work for people like me who've never played keeper before?
Okay, basically a keeper league is like you're depending upon however many keepers you have to be the core of your team.
Okay.
So next year, these same people will be on your team. They won't go into the draft because they'll be your keepers or someone else's keepers.
That's interesting.
So,
So do you
for
forfeit your
instance,
draft pick? Do you forfeit the round? Because I heard that it's the round that person was drafted in is what you forfeit. Is that true?
no, what you forfeit is the last 3 rounds. The first 3 rounds are all the same, but
Okay.
the whoever didn't have keepers, those will be the people that'll draft in rounds 12 through 15.
Okay. Got you. So
Or
rounds 12 through 15, you're only the people who didn't have keepers are drafting in those rounds.
right, 13 through 16, I think. Yeah, there's 16 rounds here.
Very interesting, man. Very interesting. Because I got some people, man. I'm surprised. So nobody wanted to keep Patrick Mahomes?
Evidently, that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at some of the some people like to start from scratch. Like I said, I was surprised if I had known that some of these people were going to be on here. Like you said, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. I would have certainly traded Josh Allen for either one of those guys.
Yeah, I was surprised that I got Josh Allen yesterday. In a keeper league. I took some pretty decent players. Bijan's new, of course.
Yesterday was actually our in that league. That was our initial draft. That was our
that was our starter draft. Okay, so this is the one
right.
where people have kept players from
from
previous
last
draft. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So, kind of looking at what's available here, I think I might have to take Elijah Mitchell.
It's interesting.
As well as, let's see. Yeah, some of the people that you don't think that you're going to see on here are here, and some of the people that you expected to see are not. Okay.
Somebody kept Mark Andrews and didn't keep Patrick Mahomes. That's crazy.
Yeah, definitely is. I think I'm going to take your guy. Tyler is going to be. Okay. Let's see here. Let's draft DeAndre Hopkins.
Interesting pick with D Hop. I'm not sure what he's going to do this year in Tennessee. I've drafted him in a couple of leagues on my underdog drafts. I'm interested to see what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Very interested to see what he's going to do there. So let's see here. I already have one running back, one wide receiver. Let's see here, man. I might just have to take my guy, Kenneth Walker, here. Let's go ahead and take Kenneth Walker. Boom. Kamara's going to be out the first 3. So let's see here. I have a hard time trusting any of those Tampa Bay wide receivers. It's just difficult for me to trust those guys.
Yeah, I'm looking at who's available, and I'm definitely thinking that I might have to take Justin Herbert here and put Josh Allen on the trading block.
Wow, that's very interesting. You should get some feelers for him. I think I'm gonna reach for my next guy. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and reach for him because I don't think he'll be here on my way back. So this guy I would not draft this high usually, but I'm gonna draft him because I don't think he'll be here on the turn, like on my way back. I don't think he'll be here. So I'm gonna go ahead and take Mike Williams. I've always liked Mike Williams. I'm gonna take him.
So are you trusting Baker Mayfield?
No, and that's Mike Evans. I definitely do not trust Baker Mayfield. But I definitely trust Justin Herbert.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, Justin Herbert.
I've had to stay away from those Tampa Bay receivers for that reason. It's interesting because when you look at the skill players that are on the Tampa Bay, that's usually fantasy gold, right? The past few years, fantasy gold, man. And Mike Evans didn't hit last year, but typically in the past few years, you want to take a Godwin or you want to take a Evans, Leonard Fournette, people of that nature. you want to take those guys, but I cannot trust Baker or Kyle Trask there. So I like Justin Herbert better. I'm gonna take Mike Williams, even though I do feel like I kind of reached for him.
Well, I took Justin Herbert, as I said. I'm going to take Justin Herbert, and I'm going to put.
So you got to get rid of Josh Allen. Take what's the thought pattern behind that?
The thought pattern, my thought pattern here is to put Josh Allen on the trading block and to pick up whatever deficit I find in my team, whether it's a running back or a wide receiver, because I think this is a player I can get a 2-for-1 very easily.
All right, I feel good so far how things are kind of feeling out. That first pick can be rough. I don't know if I like the 1st or 10th better, because they both have that turn, right? They both have a turn where they have like a back-to-back pick. But for some reason, when you're picking on that first, it just seems like it takes forever to come back to you, like versus picking at that 10th spot.
Well, you're talking about 10 and 11 versus 20 and 21.
That's true. That's true. All right, let's see where I'm going. I see you got a lot of auto picks, so those are easy. I don't know if these players have queued their picks or if they're just picking ADP and taking off the top, which kind of helps to know who will be there if that's the case. Just saw a guy. I've been drafting some Pitts, man. I like him. Let's see here. Let's look at my picks.
I am going to take Ayuk with this pick. Although Debo is gone, I do think that Brandon is a much better wide receiver per se, but I think Debo is the better football player.
That's interesting.
Well, if you look at their route running, I mean, Brandon is very precise with his routes.
Right.
Whereas Debo is more like a hybrid type of a guy. You give him that little pass, and you hope he takes it all the way.
Mm-hmm. True. You can hand it off to him. He's a very athletic guy. You know what I mean? I don't know if he's as pass catcher that Ayuk is as far as Debo Samuel goes, but Debo saved my behind, I should say, from a fantasy perspective a few years back when I took him, when I didn't know what I was really doing, and he was on my team. He was a beast for me. Cam Akers, I cannot trust, bro. I'm not trusting because Cam came on late last season.
I don't know if I can trust any Rams.
Yeah, facts. I haven't really drafted any myself. What about Tyler Higbee? I've been seeing him going on a lot of drafts. Jared Judy, man. God, can I trust Russell?
Just got hurt, right?
Right, and I don't really want to do that. I'm either gonna take Lockett or London here. Those gonna be the two picks for me. It's gonna be Lockett or London. Maybe should I take both of them? Let me look at my team real quick. I think I might go ahead and do me a wide receiver build here, man. Let's look at one position real quick. Yeah, I don't like the other guys here. I was going to take a tight end. If Goddard was here, I would have took him. But he went just to pick right before me. So now that I'm not taking Goddard, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to take Tyler Lockett and Drake London. Tyler Lockett and Drake London. Okay. So I'm feeling pretty good on my flex wide receiver positions. I feel okay about my running back position. Okay, I feel okay about it. I don't really know. Got some guys I guess I'm going to try to target. I also I don't know if you do this. I try to take different guys in different drafts. Like I don't want to draft the same player in a lot of different. I've been like 4 drafts this year, and I'm trying to mix it up a bit. I don't want to take the same guys in all my drafts.
Okay.
Trust the Dalvin Cook there, I see, huh?
I'm trusting Dalvin Cook more than I am Aaron Rodgers. But once again, see, this is where my Allen strategy is kind of coming into play.
All right, I see some guys I want to take, man. I hope they make it to me. I don't know if they will, but I hope they do. George Pickens, I've been drafting a ton of him. I see Jar Jar Binks took George Pickens. I've been drafting a lot of George Pickens.
He's been looking
in my
very
draft.
good.
I got to at least have me one Steelers player and one Falcons player on my team. So that's how all my drafts are going to go. Going to have at least a Steeler player. And I like Jordan. Freiermuth is okay. I had him on my team last year. But I've been taking a lot of George Pickens, though. I don't know, but what about Deontay Johnson? What do you think about him?
I gave some serious thought to Johnson simply because of the fact that he didn't catch a touchdown pass last year.
Yes, and he's been getting hammered for that reason. People have been hammering him for that.
And that's also the reason why I have been taking him. And if you look at, I know it's probably a little disheartening for you, but I looked at that last game, the Steelers Falcons game, and that pass that Pickens caught going down the side.
Beautiful pass.
Yeah. So I was just impressed. I had never been impressed with Kenny Pickett before. Even though
I thought he was okay, James. Like, okay, I need to see some progression this year, and I feel like the Steelers are ahead of us in that regard because we only played Ritter 4 games last year, so Steelers are ahead of us in that regard of at least seeing what they have because Pickett played a pretty good amount last year, right?
Right. He caught I think he caught 7 touchdowns last year as opposed to Deontay 0. But as I said, I do think that this year with Pickens growing up, I think that we have a good chance, and I'm looking for Johnson to at least have anywhere from 8 to 10 touchdowns this year.
All right, my guy's still here. I've drafted a ton of them. I'm gonna draft him again right now, and that's Khalil Herbert. Drafted a ton of Khalil Herbert.
Do you have that Khalil Herbert now? Do you have? Are you drafting on stats here? Or are you drafting on the Bears?
I'm drafting on the fact. When I'm at this point in the draft, what I start to look for is guys who I feel like they're just going to be the number one option in their backfield, so to speak, like the number one guy. Okay. So I'm going to go here and take. Let's look at the tight ends. Let's go all positions. Okay, I think I'm gonna take another running back. I'm really punting tight end in this build, man. Punting tight end.
Evan Ingram got that good contract from Jacksonville. He's
you know what? Let's go ahead and take him. Let's take it. Let's take him. Because I was there and I was between him and taking a person like Brian Robinson. But that would have been my 4th running back, and then I have no tight end. So at least I'll put in Evan Ingram there and see how that works out. That tight end position, once you get outside of the big 2, so to speak, which is Mark Andrews and Patrick Mahomes, and you have other ones that kind of nipping at the heels, kind of like your Dallas Goedert of the world, who I would have taken earlier if he was available. And then I took Kyle Pitts yesterday, which I was happy to take, by the way. I took a lot of Falcons players yesterday. I didn't even mean to do that. I think I took 2 or 3 Falcons players yesterday.
I'm going to go for Odell. I think Odell has some scoring left in him. I don't think he's going to be, the number 1 wide receiver, but I think he's going to be the guy that Lamar looks to at the goal line.
Do you think he's going to play the full season? That's the only worry I have about Odell. Is Odell going to play the full season? Can I depend on
Well,
this guy?
I'm thinking that he's in a situation where he doesn't have to play. That he's not the number one wide receiver,
Right.
so therefore he
Oh,
doesn't have to play every down.
but the number one wide receiver is probably gonna be Mark Andrews, right? That's who it's pretty much been.
Mark Andrews, that's pretty much who it's been. But I'm interested to see what they do with this kid Zay Flowers.
I heard he's pretty. He's been setting the world on fire there from a preseason standpoint. So that would be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Jamal Williams is off the board. I'm gonna look at my team here. So I got a pretty even build. Do you decide what your build is? Like, do you go in and say, "Hey, I'm going to do a double running back build, a hero RB build," or are you just kind of letting the draft come to you?
After about round 8, I kind of let it come to me.
Okay.
I try to concentrate on getting that core in there, and then like I said, after about round 8, especially after about round 10, it kind of goes to the best available.
Got you. After you kind of filled out your team, so to speak.
Right.
Okay, so let's see here. So we're coming up on round 10. All right, so let me see here. I need to see. So I guess I'm filling out my bench right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. About 7 more rounds. All right. Joe Mixon had mixed emotions on. Same thing with Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker was a beast last year, towards the end of the year.
Yeah, if he doesn't get hurt, I think it's a whole different ball game.
So I like how things are starting so far. Mike Williams, Justin Jefferson, Tyler Lockett. It's not horrible. Trio of receivers there. Then I got Drake London. Who do you play in your flex? You usually put a wide receiver there, running back. I know nobody plays the tight end in the flex, right? Who's that person? Puts the tight end in the flex.
Usually, I try to put a wide receiver in my flex, and then kind of hopefully see what unless there's Saquon Barkley or maybe in some cases a Jones, depending upon the running back that's available at that particular time. Because a lot of times you have guys that go for the quarterback immediately, or and sometimes like they say, even a garbage can gets a steak every now and then.
It's very interesting. We talked about Patrick Mahomes not being kept, right? What about Justin Jefferson not being kept? What's up with that? Who decided not to keep Justin Jefferson?
Well, like I said, we have only a very few guys that have kept players. A lot of guys have decided that they want to start over on even field. Those like you said, you never know what's in one guy's mind. Maybe he's a fan of one particular team, so he keeps on that particular team. And then my anticipations. Like I said, if I had known that Patrick Mahomes and some of those other guys were going to be available,
you wouldn't have kept Josh Allen.
Right. So
that's not a bad keep though, James. Like Josh Allen is top 3, and he could be top 1. You never know. He could be the top guy.
No, that's why I feel confident that if I put him or Justin Herbert on the market, I can get a good return.
Yes, I 100% agree. with that. 100% agree. And I'm gonna tell you this right now: if I can go into next year, keeping Patrick Mahomes and Justin Jefferson, that's a pretty good start to my draft. The way I see it, if I can just go into next year with these guys, something I'm looking to do.
See my bench now. I have two wide receivers and two running backs. I got one more slot open there. So let's see. I see.
Okay,
Wow.
so I'm gonna take my boy Anthony Richardson, who I've drafted a ton of. And I got to take my boy. Think, Reg, think. So I would have typically in this spot, and this is going to go against, I'm looking here, something that I've said before. So typically in this spot, I would have taken Jordan Addison. That's what I typically would have done. Now I'm looking here because I've drafted a lot I already have Justin Jefferson. I don't really like drafting players from the same team. Like, I don't load up on teams. So because I already have Justin Jefferson, I won't take him. You know who I really wish was here? Zay Flowers. Okay, so I'm gonna take this player and hope that another guy makes it back to me. I'll tell you who that guy is later, but there's one guy I'm looking at that hope to make it back to me. So right now, I don't like any of these guys, man. I don't like any of these guys. Like, I'm looking here, Elijah Moore is going. Where's Elijah Moore at? He's pretty far down there. I guess I'll take Quentin Johnston again. Oh, you know what? Let's take a Gabe Davis. Let's go ahead and take Gabe, man. I haven't taken Gabe in a while. I took Gabe last year. He was very irritating player to draft last year.
Well, I mean,
boomer bust guy.
If Gabe gets more than X amount of touchdowns, then you're going to have what's the rub going to be then? Are you going to have a Poughton Diggs or what? Yeah,
that's interesting because it seems like Diggs is already not happy now, right? Season haven't even started yet, and Diggs, from what I'm hearing, if what we hear is true, he's not too excited. From what I've heard,
he's another interesting case. I mean, here's the guy that gets 80% of the targets from Josh Allen.
Yes, he gets a lot of targets for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Ravens here. I'm torn between the Ravens and the Eagles, but I'm going to take the Ravens.
Very nice.
Only because of that 13-week before they get to bye. So I don't have to worry about drafting another defense.
So one of the things I did yesterday where I really screwed that up, and I also just noticed too that I have a wide receiver from this. Okay, I can probably change that up. I screwed up yesterday by not looking at my bye weeks. So I've already tried to take somebody off the waiver wires yesterday because I took Juwan Johnson as my backup tight end, but he has the same bye week as my starting tight end. Okay. So I'm like, man, I had to switch that up. So this time I'm going to try to pay a little bit more attention to that to make sure that guys that I'm drafting as backups at least don't have the same bye weeks. Looks like I got a lot of bye week exposure for week 5, 11, and 13. 13, I got a few guys on bye. Okay, so I got to try to work through that. I got some early buys too. It looks like some buys as early as week 5. Week 5. That's interesting, right? That somebody can have a buy in week 5 and somebody can have a buy in week 13. That's 8 weeks apart.
I know, and a good instance. I think Justin Herbert is week 5 or week 7.
And yes, because week 5 for Justin Herbert.
Yeah, and you look at Hurts, he's week 10, and I think Mahomes is week 13. Or is it
week 10 for Mahomes.
Yeah.
And who was the other player? I didn't hear the other player you said.
Hurts week 10.
Yeah, because I don't have any Eagles players on my team. I can't see their bye.
Let's see. I'm on the clock here. So Where am I going next? Jalen Warren had a good game also.
I took him yesterday. You know, I got to have a Steelers player on my team. Jalen Warren is on my squad. Najee Harris, I picked last year. Complete disappointment for me. I took him like 11th overall. Total disappointment. So I can't. I'm done with the Najee experiment. For me, it's over.
Okay. All right.
When players bust for me a year before, it's very hard for me to take them again. So that's one of the reasons why I have a hard time taking Lamar Jackson, because I've taken him before and he's got hurt towards down the stretch, and it really hurt my season. So it's hard for me to take those players again. Oh, my guy did fall back to me. So I do want to take Charbonnet.
Oh, okay. I was wondering who you were talking about there.
Charbonnet, yeah, I want to take the backup because if anything happens to Kenny, I'm gonna take his handcuff there. So let me look here because there was another position I was looking at. Let's go ahead and look at our defense. Saints Browns. So all the good defenses come off the board except one that I really like. So the Saints defense is interesting. Saints defense is interesting, but because it's the Saints, I really can't do it. I can't draft any Saints defense. I think I'm gonna take the Patriots. The Patriots have a pretty stout defense. Let me see something here. That's what I think.
Okay, so who are they gonna stop in their division?
I don't know specifically. If you ask that question specifically, that's a good question. And when you look at their projected, it's not good. So maybe I will just draft the Saints D here, because I might just start streaming this. I might stream in this league the defense. I took the Bills yesterday, and I feel very good about my Bills pick yesterday.
Oh, well, see, and some, depending upon what, who you're going with, it's either the Bills or the 49ers that are considered the number one defense.
So I couldn't pick the Saints. I went with the Jets because I just can't. I cannot allow myself as a Falcons player to pick many Saints. Right? It's very hard for me to do, man. So I went with the Jets there.
Well, a lot of people consider the Jets one of the top 5 defenses in the AFC. I have to grab a kicker here.
I think I'm gonna do the same.
I think I'm going to grab Jake Elliott from the Phillies. Okay. So now I won't be drafting anymore. It'll just be, some of the guys that had keepers, we're finished. So it'll just be you guys for the next 3 rounds.
He been drafting any Ezekiel Elliott. How do you feel about that? I drafted him yesterday, I want to say.
Do you think that Zeke Elliott is going to be your Tony Pollard? Because he's definitely going to be number 2.
Yeah, and I have a hard time with that. Like, I think maybe I was hoping that maybe he will get to Graham Gano. Let me go. Oh, my guy Youngway is available. Love some Youngway, but I think I'm gonna go Tyler Bass here. Kickers are still looking pretty decent here. I'm gonna go Tyler Bass. Yeah, let's go ahead and get him on the team. All right. I don't know if Zeke could at least get some goal line work. What I'm looking for is that player that space that Jamal Williams occupied last year. I don't know if you remember where Jamal Williams had so many goal line touchdowns, and Swift would see a lot of the work, but Jamal Williams had a lot of goal line touchdowns. Okay, so if a couple guys come back to me, I'm going to take them. I'm going to just draft upside here, man, because these are players I probably would not draft otherwise. I got Jalen Warren still on the board there, but because I took Jalen Warren yesterday, I don't think I can take him today. Even I do like Jalen, by the way. Oh, he was gone anyway. Took that. Oh, no, that would be me. All right, so Let me see. It's gonna be between my boy. I'm gonna reach for one guy who I'm just gonna probably just stash, but it's so hard because we don't know where Jonathan Taylor's going. That's gonna make things a lot more difficult. So let me see how many Falcons players I have. I have one Falcons player so far. All right, so let's just be this guy. I'm gonna take wide receiver, running back, Charbonnet. Maybe Algier I really like here, man. Like Algier's 1,000-yard back, right? Now we know it's gonna be Bijan Robinson, which I hope it is because that's what I drafted yesterday. It's my first overall pick, or my first round pick. But there's really two guys I like here. I probably can get them both though. So let's. Oh man, Gus Edwards looks pretty good down there, right? All right. All right. Let's be a homer and take Algier.
I took Algier in a couple spots.
I'm gonna take him because he's 1,000-yard back last year. You know, if you can grab 1,000-yard back this far down in the draft, I think that's pretty decent value. Even though he sees the field, maybe he doesn't. But the last guy I'm gonna draft here, my guy just went. I think my guy just went anyway. So he took care of it. Dalton Kincaid was gonna be my guy that I was gonna take. Do I have a backup tight end? No. I should have switched that pick around and took Dalton Kincaid before. So there's this other guy. So I could either take Everett here as my backup tight end or Hunter Henry as my backup tight end. Let's look at the two here. Everett's a starting tight end for the Chargers. Does he start?
Yes.
He starts.
Yes.
Okay. I'm surprised. What's happened to Dalton Knox fall off the face of the earth? Maybe because of Kincaid there? Kincaid's going higher than Knox. They're on the same team. I thought Knox got traded.
No, Knox is actually projected as the number 2 tight end behind the rookie Kincaid.
Which is interesting, right? Because you have a decent performance last year and you're not even starting. All right. So I feel pretty good. I'm looking at my team here, man. Looking at my team: Mahomes, Mixon, Walker, Jefferson, Mike Williams, Evan Ingram, Tyler Lockett, Jets D, Tyler Bass, Drake London. I did not look at those bye weeks like I said I was going to, so I might have screwed myself again. I need to look at some of that. I looked up into that for my tight end pick because they happen to have different bye weeks, and then I just got to see the math. How do you feel about your team today?
I'm looking at my team, and I'm actually feeling pretty good about my team. Let me refresh this because let's see. I have Joe Burrow, Saquon Barkley, Delvin Cook, DK Metcalf, Keenan Allen, Travis Kelce, DeAndre Hopkins. Ravens are my defense, and Jake Elliott is my kicker. So I'm actually feeling pretty good. My backups include Justin Herbert, Brandon Ayuk, AJ Dillon, OBJ, McKinnon. I took, and
I've taken him in an A league, but not a lot, but I have taken him.
Look at how many touchdowns that he's scored as compared to the rest of the backs for Kansas City. And he's another one of the guys that I took down close to the goal line. And plus, they have a long bye week. So, I can bring him in and out of the lineup whenever I need to spell one of my other guys. Elijah Mitchell.
Interesting pick for Elijah, right? Right behind Christian right there.
Right. the deal is, just like you asked, about some other players, are we going to get a full year?
Yes, you
Yeah.
should draft CMC's backup all the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So in that sense, it's like, what are you going to do? So let's see, coming down here now. Yeah. Yeah. Plus, he's a good guy out of the backfield. I think the question more is, how many games are we going to get out of Brock Purdy?
Yeah, and I think the beginning of the year is going to be interesting, right? Because the thing is about making it through the year really starts to feel like a drag when you get around week 8, 9, 10-ish, and you still got about 7, 8 weeks to go. Now you start to really get into it. You get a lot of winter football starting to be played, late fall football. So it's interesting to see if he's going to be able to make it through that whole season. But it's a wonder that he's starting, right? Because remember when he got injured last year, it wasn't a guarantee he was even going to start this year. So I think the fact that he's even starting, they got Trey Lance out of there. The fact that he's even starting is something. Now, I noticed that a lot of people, even yesterday's draft, and maybe you can educate me here, there's a lot of teams with 3 quarterbacks. Am I missing the boat here? Should I have taken a 3rd quarterback? Because I've only been taking 2 in all my leagues. I've never taken 3. I see you got 3 solids here. You got Joe Burrow, Herbert, and Allen. That's 3 solid. A lot of people, James, if they had one of these guys, they would have punted on the other. What is a 3 quarterback strategy?
Well, like I said, my 3 quarterback strategy this year, because I'm usually like you, I only take 2. But my strategy this year is to trade one of those quarterbacks for a number.
So instant trade bait, basically.
Right. But like you said, a lot of people would have passed on that 3rd, but at the time I'm looking at the best available player. Am
Right.
I going to draft Justin Herbert, or am I going to draft Rashad White?
Rashad White's been a very popular pick this year. Who was your keeper? Was Kelsey your keeper?
Kelsey, Allen, and Burrow were my keepers.
Interesting. So you had 2 QBs in your keeper. So you already knew for a fact that if you drafted a QB here, you were going to trade him because you had 2 solid keepers already.
Right.
That's very interesting because I'm looking at mine, and that's why I love Anthony Richardson so much, because if he ends up turning into a guy, I drafted him yesterday and today. So if he ends up turning into a guy, I'm rolling into next year with Richardson and Mahomes. I'm rolling into next year with those 2 players. And this is 3. So we get to keep 3 in this league, right?
Right.
So I might keep, I already know it'll probably be Jefferson, Mahomes, Richardson, but we'll see. Those 3 kind of going into the year. Let's look at some other teams here. Let's look at it. Is there any way to tell who other teams kept? I don't see any distinction.
Is there? Well, if you go to their rosters, there should be a K beside their keepers.
Okay, so I just don't see them here. I don't think I saw them for your team. So let me go here and see. I've seen some pretty good teams. Look at Demetrius's team here. See, he took Gibbs. He didn't load up on Detroit players, I see. Well, he did got a couple. He took the Detroit running backs. In Montgomery. What about Montgomery, right? Montgomery's been serviceable. I haven't really drafted him, though.
Montgomery's been serviceable, but I think you also have to take into account that they have one of their wide receivers that's going to be out for 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be suspended for the first 6 games of the season.
That's Jameson Williams.
Right. So, I'm kind of hoping that he'll spread the wealth around those first 6 games. And then, you see who you drafted, to take his place. I'm,
It's
I'm,
interesting because he's rolling with Kirk Cousins as his starting QB, and he has no other QB. So that's already a trade partner right there, if you ask me. Like if there's any, his team could really use a Josh Allen, in my
I
opinion,
think,
especially if he has a Stephon Diggs as well there.
I think, uh, maybe, let's see, probably Bill and uh, Demetrius were probably auto picks
Okay.
because there's no way in the world that Demetrius would have been in there, and if uh, 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 Golf was available,
He takes Cousins, right?
then he takes Cousins, Cousins over Golf. And so, uh,
Oh, yes, man.
I think that's a definite indication that that's an auto pick.
Well, Cousins is a safe floor quarterback for everybody out there who likes those floor quarterbacks, right? He's a safe floor guy, but he's not. That upside is not there. And Golf ended up being pretty good quarterback last year. And our league winner last year had Golf as his quarterback.
But if if you listen to past episodes of the Sports Crib and the conversations between Demetrius and Mr. Scott, who is who lives in Minnesota and is a Minnesota fan, then you would know that this is the equivalent of Demetrius voting for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I can definitely see where this was not Demetrius's pick.
This is an excellent team when I'm looking at Bill's team, because that's Surrey County, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Carroll. Look at Bill's team. I don't know. Maybe Lamar was his keeper, but he has an excellent team here. Like AJ Brown, Devontae Adams on your same team.
Yeah, Bill did his keepers too, so I know for a fact that he did his keepers. I looked at his squad before.
Yeah, because I don't recall seeing AJ Brown, Devontae Adams even available, and maybe he took Austin Eckler. Because when I look at these three players, Austin Eckler, okay, if he was able to keep three of these guys, then you came into this. He would have had to take Bijan first. He came into this draft with already Austin Eckler, AJ Brown, Devontae Adams. Maybe he drafted Lamar. I don't know. I have to look at the draft and see.
Are there some K's besides some of his players?
Where I'm looking at the teams, there aren't.
On Bill's team.
Yeah, I don't see them here because I'm looking at I'm looking at the rosters, the standings, and then I don't see the K. So no, Bill actually he drafted AJ Brown, and he drafted Bijan Robinson. And Lamar. So AJ Brown, Bijan Robinson, Lamar. So that means he probably came in with Devontae Adams. He came in with Austin Eckler. He drafted AJ Brown, and he drafted. So it looks like he kept Devontae Adams and Austin Eckler for obvious reasons, right?
Yeah.
Devontae Adams. He has some good teams.
What did you think about Trey Lawrence going to the Cowboys?
I felt like it sucks that San Francisco had to make that move, but at the same time, I kind of feel like they had to make the move, James, right? Like you were already going to be third on the depth chart. Before the kid starts falling down the depth chart more, you need to try to see what you can get something for him, right? At this particular point in time, he's been in the league, 3 years or so?
Yes.
Has played maybe 3 games. I don't know if he's played it on average even a game a year of football. So
I don't think he's played 50 college games, 50 football games.
I don't think he has either. And I think you probably add high school in there. And I don't know if you can get to 50. So it's interesting because let's say then, because we all already know he's in theory he won't be starting this year. I don't even know how far he is down on the Cowboys depth chart. I don't know if he occupies a second or third spot.
Well,
But let's
he
say
can't occupy the. Is it Cooper Rush?
Cooper Rush is still there,
He
and
has
I think Cooper Rush has earned that second spot. By the way,
Yeah, that's all. His play last year earned him at least a backup spot.
So I like Cooper.
Yeah, so he's going
third.
into Dallas as the third quarterback.
So let's say that he doesn't start then for another year or two. Let's add another year or two on top of that, James, before he actually sees the start. It would be 4 to 5 years.
Do you think that Dak is going to be the starting quarterback for Dallas for the next 3 to 5 years? Honestly?
Dak?
Yeah.
I think Dak could be the starter for the next year or two. So I think he can be a starter for this year. And because they already paid him, right? They already gave him the money.
Right.
I think he can be the starter for this year and a starter for next year. 3 years, I don't know about that. Like I think his next year is going to depend on this year, and that's why I would say at least a year or two away from Trey starting, because he would then have to find a way to beat out Dak and Cooper Rush over the next year or two, minus injury, right?
And we have some pretty good quarterbacks coming up over the next couple of years.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're saying Kyler might not play. You saw that? I mean, I saw some news on Kyler saying that there's rumors anyway, because a lot of people have been drafting Kyler and a lot of people are banking on Kyler, even though Arizona is projected to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. Kyler might not play this entire year. So if that happens, then I think they're going to tank for your boy Caleb, right? The tank for Caleb's going to start early for them.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that, I don't see where they're giving this kid the best chance to succeed, because I'm thinking that in the next 2 years, there's going to be a quarterback battle in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And if he finds himself, I mean, they only gave up a 4th round pick for him. So therefore, they don't really have to, it's not like they gave up a ton of assets for him.
True.
But, if he's not the starting quarterback by 2025, then
so that's what, 2 years from now, about 2 years roughly.
Right. Then, he's gonna find himself, I think, kind of like a Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. I would say worse than Baker, because at least Baker had a playoff game, right? Like Baker at least took his team to the playoffs, had a chance to show some competence, whereas Trey Lance will be 4 to 5 years in the league without really ever being a legitimate starter, picked 3rd overall. It's a bad situation to be in, right?
Right. Yeah. And then you get that label of being a bust when you've never, like I said, the kid's played 50 football games in his whole career. So a lot of these guys played that many games in Pop Warner.
Right. Another thing too is that when it comes to players like of like the Trey Lance type, one of the things is that a lot of people will be like, he didn't get a chance. He didn't get an opportunity to show what he can do. But your opportunities are going to come in practice a lot of times, James, right? When I see teams being unwilling to sign a player, or teams being unwilling to play a player, move them up the depth chart, one of the things I always think about is they're watching this guy all the time. They're seeing this guy 4 or 5 days a week, and something is not convincing them that they're ready to move up. It's the opposite of what happened to Russell Wilson. It's the opposite of what happened to Patrick Mahomes. When Patrick Mahomes, that second year, I was hearing a lot out of camp. Like, there's this guy named Patrick Mahomes who's really tearing it up right now, and they can't keep him out of the top spot. Russell Wilson, they had just signed that other QB. I think he was from Green Bay, paid him like $10 million, and Russell Wilson ended up winning the job. It's the opposite of what's happening with Trey Lance. I think players like Trey Lance, they come into the league and people want them to win the job. Kind of like the Anthony Richardson, right? Your prototypical looking guy. You want him to win the job, but something's just not telling you that he's there to be that first starter. And if you can go 4 to 5 years and you're in different practice squads, all these scouts, people are looking at you, coaches are looking at you constantly, and they don't think you're worthy of that first spot. At what point, James, do you have to move off? I mean, 4 to 5 years and not earning a starting job is crazy. And he has had some injury issues, so you got to put that in there.
Yeah, but it's one thing if you're drafted number 3. It's quite another thing if you're drafted Mr. Irrelevant.
Yes, no pressure.
Yeah, and then Mr. Irrelevant beats you out when you're on the same team.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like that kid that what do they call it? He's waiting at home, and when the draft first starts, he's waiting there with his whole family.
Yeah, man.
Family, and round 1 goes by, then round 5 goes by, and like instead of the whole family, there's like maybe 6.
Yeah, man, they're cleaning up now. They're cleaning up after the party. The party's over. The guy that's still waiting back in the red room, after it's all over with his brand new suit and all that, It can be a lot. And I feel like Brock Purdy came in with no pressure. He can kind of and he's played so much more football. I want to say Brock Purdy was a 4-year starter. He played so much more football.
He was
than Trey Lance. So
yeah,
he knows
4-year starter. Yeah.
It helps. Because now you got to see. I don't know if he rockets up ahead of Trey Lance if he comes in with the same kind of makeup, only playing very few games and stuff like that. These 4-year starters, they come in a lot more polished. They've seen a lot more. And some of these guys has only played a few games. It takes them a minute to kind of go through that maturation process. And maybe it happened for him in Dallas, but it's unfortunate that he's not going into an instant start situation. Like if you went to Arizona, you would think like, okay, you got a chance really to start this year, and we got a chance to see him this year. Going to Dallas, minus injury, I don't think we have a chance to see him this year.
No. I mean, like you said, minus injury, what if Dak throws 10 interceptions? Do they sit him down? I mean, that was with Cooper Rush starting what, 4 games? Was it 4 games? 5 games?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cooper Rush started quite a bit of games, and that was due to injury. And he came in and did his thing. So I don't know, man. I mean, he came in and did his thing. Cooper Rush might earn a job here somewhere if Dallas don't want to pay him.
And like I said, if Dak starts throwing a bunch of interceptions and they bench him, now all of a sudden Trey Lance is your number 2 quarterback. How does that work out?
I think that he's it'll become very interesting because you know what happens. They say one of the most popular players on a lot of teams is the backup quarterback. One of the most popular players, because as soon as your starter throws a few interceptions and it's not looking right, everybody's going to clamor for that second guy. And that's why a lot of times you have players like your Cam Newtons of the world who had trouble finding jobs because they didn't want to put pressure on the first guy. You bring in a guy who can be a competent starter as your second guy. As soon as that first guy starts to mess up, people are going to be clamoring for that second guy to get in there. And I think just because of how Trey Lance being drafted so high and there's still a certain mystique around him, I think people will still want to see what he can do. So if Dak's out there throwing double-digit interceptions, and then Trey happens to be that second person, I think people will want to see what he has. They're going to feel like he can't do worse.
Yeah. So, like I said, some kids fold under that kind of pressure, and some thrive under that kind of pressure. So it's going to be interesting to see which one this kid is. 3 first rounders to a 4th rounder. but
Brutal.
then again, is the kid the one that's laughing all the way to the bank or what? I mean, it's
Is a team guy? I mean, he got paid because he got drafted at.
right.
Paid, but I don't know if he's gonna get paid again. He's still working on that draft contract. I mean, when that draft contract is up, when is it up? It's gonna be up. They got 4 or 5 years because he got drafted so early.
Yeah,
He's gonna be under that rookie contract, maybe another year or two.
but in the meantime, like do like who was it? Was it who was the big guy for? I think it's Gronkowski that banked all his.
Yes, he never spent his checks.
Right, and just lived off his endorsements. Well, maybe Trey Lance might want to give him a call.
Man, the problem is one is a future Hall of Famer and one can't get to the field. I don't know if the endorsements are knocking down the door for Trey Lance the same way they were knocking down the door for Gronkowski. You might need to get a couple more Super Bowls in there, man.
No. But what I'm saying is, you're on that rookie deal.
Yes,
you got some guaranteed money there.
Mm-hmm.
Which is more than a lot of people make in a lifetime.
He needs to be saving that and stashing that away at this point in time.
Don't be Dennis Rodman, or like that. Hey, you know that you might not get another contract, and you have millions in the bank, you might want to think about, I know it's not generational money, but it's a starting point. I think I could live very well off the interest.
Absolutely, you and me both, my friend. You and me both could.
So yeah.
Maybe he needs to go to school, man. If I'm Trey, I'm stacking that money. Maybe you can have a career as a backup and still do better than a lot of human beings do. Clipboard carrying on these teams. But I do think that the next year or two are going to really determine this kid's trajectory. Like if this ain't figured out, like you said, James, by 2025, if this is not figured out by then, and he's out of his rookie contract, who's going to pay the guy? You're going to backup land at that point.
Of course. So, I want to ask you about because I saw you were pretty high on this kid, and
Mm-hmm.
I know he's a rookie, and that's Charbonnet.
Mm-hmm. I like Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah, Charbonnet. Okay, what did you see that makes you think that this kid is going to be? Because right now he's number 3 on the depth chart.
Mm-hmm. I took Charbonnet because I took Kenneth Walker, and also so it's a couple of different things. Because I took Kenneth Walker, and I like Zach Charbonnet, I believe that's a chance that he'll see the field. And also, once I get to that point in the draft of where I took him at, I think I took him very late. I'm just taking flyers at this point. So yesterday's draft, I took a flyer on Quentin Johnston and I think Jordan Addison yesterday. So I took them very, very late in the draft. And those are my guys that I'm just taking flyers on. Like, well, maybe this guy won't be any good for me for the first 10 weeks, but maybe I get to the end of the season or the second half of the season and things are very different. We know that the NFL landscape can change very differently by that time. And then I would maybe put him into the lineup then, but he's more so like just a flyer on him because I took Kenneth Walker and I just kind of like upside at that point. So I'm just drafting upside at that point in the draft. If I had already, let's say I done this opposite. Let's say I took Charbonnet yesterday, then I would have taken Jordan Addison today. And Jefferson too has something to do with that. Jefferson was one of the reasons I didn't take Jordan Addison because I didn't want to take the wide. I'm not a fan of taking a wide receiver 1, 2, or 3 from the same team.
Okay. Kadarius Toney or Sky Moore?
I got to say Kadarius Toney because Kadarius Toney has been on the field. He's been on the field. Sky Moore on the field on occasion.
5 games, 6 games? I mean, yeah. Kadarius Toney stays in the tent a lot too.
He was in the tent, and I feel like the change of scenery was a little bit better for him. So let's do the same thing. Let's say Sky Moore or Kadarius Toney, and then go back to Giants Kadarius Toney, Daniel Jones Giants Kadarius Toney. I'm taking Sky Moore then. In that exact same conversation. Like if it was, I'm taking Sky Moore, but if it's Kadarius Toney or Sky Moore now, take Kadarius Toney. Only because I don't know what I'm gonna get from Sky Moore, but that doesn't mean that Sky Moore doesn't have a better upside. Because I think this is only his second year, right? Sky Moore was a rookie last year.
Yeah. Yes, he was.
And that's not to crap on Sky Moore. It could happen for him. Like a lot of people were hoping it would happen very early, but he could end up being the guy.
Algier or Patterson?
Algier, man. Patterson's like 40, man. Like, and I love, as much as I love Patterson, whenever I see these journeyman players that have played for so many different teams throughout the years, and he had that resurgence. Patterson had that resurgence, a year or two ago, where we gave him a little bit more money down here.
Right.
And he catches the ball a lot. He catches the ball a lot. He special teams guy for a lot of teams back in the day. But I like Algier because he's second year.
He doesn't turn the ball over.
Doesn't turn the ball over, and he's an adult. He's an adult at the position,
and he's a red zone. So, do you think that Algier is going to get those red zone touches? Because you guys, I don't understand. I mean, everybody knows that Bijan is going to be your number one back.
Yes,
you can list him number 3. You can list.
He's going to be the number one back. No way. You pick 8th overall and put him at 3rd. It's just not going to happen.
Right. So, is he going to be a 3-down back?
I think so. I think it's going to be hard for Algier or Patterson to see the field.
You don't think that this is going to be maybe a Tony Pollard situation?
Running back by committee type thing.
Running back by committee. Bijan takes it down to the 10, and Algier and Patterson take it in.
So Patterson, I've never seen be much of a. So if you look at this goal line, if we're talking about just goal line work, let's say it goes down to the 1 or 2. You're talking goal line work. From a physical stature, I don't see how you take Bijan out the game down there. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, if you look at the physical stature between him and a player like Algier, so I'm gonna take CP Cordell Patterson out of that unless it's a pass, unless they decide they want to pass the ball. I'm gonna go just between Bijan and Algier on goal line work. I don't see taking out, what is Bijan, like 6 foot, 6'1" or so, somewhere. He's a beast of a guy down there. So why would you take him out of a 1 or 2 yard situation and put in a smaller Algier? Maybe before fresh legs, maybe. But still, you got I don't see the point of that. I think Bijan's going to get the bulk of the carries. And if I took Algier, and I've taken a lot of Algier because I like a back that got 1,000 yards last year, that can be a handcuff. You never know if these guys can get hurt or not. And I think Algier instantly gets value if something happens to Bijan. Algier's going to be instantly get that value. And Cordell does too. Cordell moves up. But I think that it'll be Algier will be the guy if it ends up not being Bijan. But I'm going to stick with Bijan on the goal line.
Okay. I know he's on the pup list. Jonathan Taylor. Mm-hmm. What's your thoughts? We know
scary.
Or right now we at least believe that he's not going to start the season in a Colt uniform. So where do you think he's going to end up?
I heard Miami got rejected, by the way.
Right.
But they're still working. Miami's still trying to. I've heard Minnesota's name be mentioned out there for all those Madison drafters. I think it's scary from a fantasy standpoint because wherever he lands, your guys just got moved down the depth chart. From a football standpoint, I like him in Miami.
What if he lands in Buffalo?
Wouldn't that be interesting, huh? Wouldn't that be interesting? I wonder how do they make that work? So if you are, who do you give up for him?
Well, Cook is this is his first year as a starter because
and he's ascending, James. What I hear.
They got rid of Singletary. Well, at one time they were talking about the older brother Dalvin, even possibly, going to Buffalo. I didn't think that was going to happen. Why would he go and put his little brother on the bench? But yeah, but Jonathan Taylor would be a viable candidate for Buffalo
Absolutely.
because they don't have a number one established running back.
I think when you look around the league and you got a player of Jonathan Caliber's stature, there's about 28 teams that can use this guy. 28 teams that can use it. I remember back in the day telling a friend when Peyton Manning decided he wanted to leave Indianapolis. I remember telling my friend back in the day, I said, there's about 28 jobs in trouble because this guy decided that he wanted to leave. He's going to push down whoever's on that depth chart. And I feel the same way about Jonathan Taylor, where there's only a few places. So you got CMC, right? Of course, San Francisco's not going to do it. You have your Derrick Henrys of the world. I think Tennessee believes he has something in the tank. I don't think they're going to do it. If Las Vegas thinks Josh Jacobs is coming back, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to keep Josh Jacobs. But we're starting to run out of guys, right? Of course, Atlanta, we're not going to do it. We're stacked. But once you got a 4 or 5 teams, he could go almost anywhere and push that depth chart down, So Buffalo is interesting. Miami's interesting. I heard that Minnesota's interested. That would be interesting. I don't think there's many teams he can go to, James, at this point where he won't instantaneously make that a better team.
Let's talk about the situation. You mentioned them, and I know that they're not your favorite team, but they are in your division. Mm-hmm. What are you expecting from the Saints? Derek Carr is he's more than just a decent quarterback.
I like Derek Carr. I'm a fan.
And he doesn't have a bad wide receiving core.
You got to see what we can get from Michael Thomas, right? See what he comes out looking like. I like the kid Chris Olave down there.
Well, you have to like Olave. Mm-hmm. They still have Kirkwood, who's a journeyman. We'll see what we can get from Michael Thomas. But either way, the defense has to cover him. Whether we get zero, like we got with Deontay, whether we get 0 touchdowns or not, you still have to account for him in that wide receiving core. But I think Kamara is on his downside.
He definitely was last year. He definitely took a step back.
Ingram is gone.
Yes,
they have some new people there on the offensive line. The defense has always been stout. I won't say I wouldn't call it a top 5, but maybe a top 15 defense. So what are your expectations? Because I don't think that people are giving Carr enough credit. I mean, New Orleans hasn't had a quarterback since Drew Brees, actually.
Facts. Absolute facts. And I like Carr. So it's going to be hard if I take off my Saints hater cap and look at the Saints. I think they could be decent. When you look at our division, it's so wide open because we don't know what Bryce is. We got to kind of see how that translates. He could be good, could go through the rookie struggles. Our team, I like our skill players here. I like the fact that we have Pitts. We're shoring up our defense. Has been horrible for years. Shoring up our defense. We got Pitts. We got Drake London. We got Bijan Robinson. It's not really many excuses for the kid Ritter to not perform, but at the same time, Ritter's only played 4 games. He's still in his rookie season, in my opinion, for the first 13 weeks of this season, before he's played a full season of games. So it's a big question mark there. I think the Saints have the most settled quarterback position in our division, right? Derek Carr is a proven guy. A lot of the other guys are rookies or unproven, or like Baker Mayfield, who've proven on the negative end. So I like Derek Carr. Now, you talk about a scary place for Jonathan Taylor to go to. I damn sure hope we don't go to the Saints. That'll be terrible for us. if that's to happen. But if Kamara comes back, Michael Thomas ends up staying on the field and we see some semblance of what Michael Thomas was in the past, Saints have a good shot. Because I feel like the Saints are a pretty decent ran organization. You know, you look at some organizations, Saints a decent ran organization, very different from the years past, the Aints, and when they had Archie and all those guys. It's been a different Saints. You know, Peyton has kind of changed. Peyton and Breeze have changed the trajectory for that franchise. Now we just got to see if they can kind of stand on their own with neither one of these guys being there. And I think they have a chance to do it this year with Carr.
I'm coming up with my last pick in one of my Yahoo leagues.
Mm-hmm.
And I have Algieri, Mitchell.
Elijah?
Yes.
Okay.
And Ezekiel Elliott.
Ah, brutal, right? What a brutal choice there.
So I'm gonna let you make my last pick.
You said Algier, Elijah Mitchell. I think you gotta go to Elijah Mitchell, right? So the only reason I wouldn't go Elijah Mitchell is because you've already picked Elijah Mitchell. But I think you picked him in our last draft. But when you look at the guys, I think you got to draft CMC's handcuff, right? Like I feel like it's a mandatory thing. If you get to, and Elijah Mitchell is a good running back when he sees the field. He hasn't been bad. It's just staying on the field and now having unfortunate luck of CMC coming to your team. So I like Elijah Mitchell out of those three guys. Zeke, maybe goal line work with Zeke. Zeke's a question mark. I drafted him yesterday last. He was my last pick yesterday in our draft. And I didn't feel great about that.
Well, thanks to you, Elijah Mitchell is going to be my last pick.
I think that's a solid pick. You got a solid pick with a last pick there, James, with a guy who could see the field. Yeah. That's all we hope for these last picks, right? When I picked Algier, maybe he sees the field, maybe he doesn't. You know what I mean? But I picked him in hopes that maybe he sees the field. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, this is a money league, so I'm gonna trust your judgment. If I lose, of course, it's your fault. But
I got a money league draft coming up on the 5th. On the 3rd and the 5th. I got 2 more drafts coming up on the 3rd and the 5th, both money leagues. But Yahoo. My draft on the 3rd is Yahoo is on the 5th. They're both Yahoo leagues, but the difference is so my running back, so paid pro league on the 5th, where you just pay your money and you're just drafting. And then on the 3rd is my work league, but it's going to be on Yahoo, but it's also a paid league, but it's a home league, and we have individual defensive players. I'm not sure if you ever played IDP before.
Yeah, I played IDP.
That's an IDP league.
IDP worked for me when I was only playing like 5 or 6 teams. IDP worked. When I started playing 15.
Oh, are you managing all 15? James, are some of those best ball leagues? Because you can play like 100 best ball leagues, right?
No, I think I have on Yahoo, I believe I have 35 best ball leagues.
Goodness gracious. Woo.
But
I gotta get on top of my game. I thought 5 leagues was enough, or was a lot for me. I'm in 4 or 5 leagues this year, and I thought that was crazy. And I count my best ball roughly about 8. If I count my best ball,
I play. Was it 15 Yahoo paid leagues and 10 to 15 ESPN leagues? So
interesting.
This is, like I said, this is my time of year. I only, this is my window. Interesting enough, I play in another league with a guy that's 80 years old, and he's been playing fantasy football even longer than I have.
Wow.
So
wow.
I mean, you have to find, something to amuse you. You have to find, different, outlets in order to keep your energy and whatnot. So, baseball, I play socially, like maybe 1 or 2 leagues. Basketball socially, like maybe 5 or something like that.
I'm gonna play about a few basketball leagues myself.
But I get my freak on during football season.
I was gonna say, it's definitely not. The thing about basketball leagues that sucks is there a best ball for basketball?
I have no, unless they
That's
start.
what best basketball needs a best ball so badly, only because of the injury management in basketball is incredible. Like it's incredible managing the injuries in basketball. Like I had Brandon Ingram last year, stubbed his toe, was out for like 4 or 5 weeks, killed me.
Yeah.
So managing those constantly. And do you have any of those that are auto managed on your football side? How are you managing all of these leagues
Well,
actively?
what I do on Yahoo, I have the Yahoo Fantasy Plus
Mm-hmm.
where I can set my lineups 3 or 4 weeks ahead.
Good job. Good job.
But that's also, if you notice, I draft a lot of guys that don't have a bye until week 9 or 10.
I did notice that. I did notice that because I look at my buys here and I'm seeing I drafted a lot of week 13, 11 buys. Now, here's the thing that I don't like. When is the fantasy playoffs? Because some of these great players are going to be gone week 13. And is the fantasy playoffs around for 13, 14? Don't we get around there?
Usually, let's see, there's
Or is it
17
after
days.
14 games?
Usually, fantasy goes 15 games.
Okay.
Usually it's about 15 games, and then
That's
but
around week 16-ish
right,
in the way that
right,
it works now.
yeah, just before the playoffs usually start, for real, in in real time. So yeah, fantasy week is usually over. I believe it's about week 15. But you also, like, if like I think there's a couple of teams where I might have like 3 or 4 guys from Kansas City, maybe 2 of them are on my bench, and I'm starting Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey, and I might have Kadarius Toney and McKinnon on my bench.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because those are players that I can insert or play or not play, and I don't have to. It's another thing where I don't have to, unless there's injuries. I don't really have to be concerned about looking at my lineups until week 5.
Right, absolutely, and that's when it gets real, right? We
Right.
all know when that first bye week comes, things start getting sticky in fantasy. And I have a few players that are in those single digit buys. The good thing I like about single digit buys is that getting it over with nature of things, right? So if I have several guys on buy within the first like 8-9 weeks, once I get to week 10, if 80-90% of my team's already been on a buy, then I feel good about the rest of the season. I don't have to I don't want to be managing every week. So I try to cluster that up the best that I can so that I'm not trying to manage buys week 5, week 6, week 7, week 9. You see what I'm saying? Where I have guys on buys all throughout.
Right.
But I didn't pay enough attention to that because yesterday I really screwed that up. So I'm really hoping that I can pick somebody up off the waivers, which I need to look at my team to see. I don't know what our waivers are. We allowed to pick players up off the waiver right now? Do we have to wait till the league actually starts?
No, I believe we can pick up guys. Look on there, and I believe if you look on the players, you might be able to pick them up as soon as Monday.
Okay, good. Because right now, I like the guy that I have, so it is what it is. If I get stuck and trying to fit in, I just got to try to stream because tight end, because I don't really deal with that until week 11. So it's not like I got to deal with it tomorrow. You know what I mean? I'll be able to have that player for the first 10, 11 weeks, and then maybe I can just stream a tight end. Tight end is such a pain in the ass position in fantasy. That's why I loved having Kelsey last year. I just had Kelsey. I didn't have to worry about it.
Well, here's the thing. I have a league that, of course, I miss Kelsey, but I managed to pick Mark Andrews and George Kittle.
Oh, what? Yeah. Andrews and Kittle in the same league?
On the same team.
Did you take them back to back? Like, how did you? How did your league mates allow that to happen?
Like I said, every now and then, steak, falls in the garbage can. and my dilemma is, there was my flex position.
Ah,
So,
wow.
so I actually played on this team. My starting lineup is with uh, Mark as my starting tight end and Kettle as my flex.
Wow. So that's how we get to a tight end flex right there. Cause I don't know. That tight end flex is so questionable to me, man. But I see how we get to it. I wish you could. No, I might try to do a super flex league, a league where you can put like a quarterback or somebody in your flex, get that super flex league. I played in a 2 QB league a few years back, but it was really rough because if you take two, let's say you take two, it was a 12-team league. And let's say that if everybody just takes 2 quarterbacks, you got 24 gone first day. So day 1, 24 quarterbacks are out of here. If everybody takes 3 quarterbacks, 36 quarterbacks gone.
Well,
Day 1.
if you're playing in in a 2 quarterback league, a lot of guys are going to take. Now that's a case where you definitely would consider taking 3 quarterbacks if they're in the top 15 or top 20.
Yes. You'll see quarterbacks go first round in those kind of leagues very quickly.
Right. Yeah. But that's also a place where you have to be very conscious of your bye weeks.
True, very true. Because having that lack, and then in that league, when a quarterback would get injured, you were screwed because the bench was just forget about it. Forget about it on the bench. You got second, third stringers on the bench, and it was too punitive. Like the injuries will kill your season. Just like when I had Derrick Henry, and I feel like this can happen in a lot of leagues, James, where if your first overall pick, if your first round pick gets injured or does not perform, like my first round pick last year was Najee Harris. He didn't perform for me to the end of the year. My first round pick the year before that was Derrick Henry. Excellent through like 9 weeks. Got injured, sank my season. I ended up making it to the playoffs in both of those years, but I had very quick exits out of those playoffs. If you whiff on that first round pick, it's so punitive. And that's why I kind of like this keeper format a little bit here, because it's kind of like, well, at least you could take some studs into the next draft. You're not having to worry about trying to find the studs. You take those studs with you into the next draft. And I already see a few guys I probably would take into my next draft here. So we got 2 for the last one and 3 for this one. So I like both of these teams. Fantasy Pros didn't really like my team yesterday. I ran it through Fantasy Pros, and they had me like 5th or so when I ran it through there. Let's look and see. They definitely did not like my team on there. Hopefully I did better. They had me at 5th and yesterday. So I'm gonna run it through Fantasy Pros and see. Hopefully I do better with this draft. I had the first overall pick with this draft, so hopefully I'll do better.
Now you can find a lot of those flex teams that you were talking about on Yahoo, especially paid leagues with the double flex teams. I've been. I have one league, maybe 2 leagues that I was invited to. One I took and one I didn't. But Reggie, we might have to make this a Saturday show, man. You managed to stick up here with me since.
Yeah, man, we were able to make it through. Actually, I'm gonna work. Just to show people how dedicated I am to the situation, I would actually be at work right now because I work in events. So Saturday is actually my worst day. But due to my dedication of fantasy, I called in late and told them I was going to be late today just so I could come on and do this show today.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to be headed to work as soon as I get out of here.
So you work? I think out here we call it main events, like the concerts and things like that down there.
Special events. Special events can be corporate events. It can be concerts. It could be weddings. It could be an office party. It could be a birthday party. Special events is any type of event for the most part, and they range. A small event for me would be considered an event that's like 100, 150, anything under 200 people. Small event. Okay. They go though up to like 2,000 people. So it's a very fun job, a very social job, man.
Yeah. My little brother did an event in Dallas not too long ago. and it was for one of the hospitals in Dallas, and they rented out a stadium for their employees, and they had Stevie Wonder and a few other people.
No, that's nice.
And performed at the event. But it was the first time that I had ever heard of a hospital, but then it's Texas. So, there's money there. So, regardless of what we might think about their politics, they got that,
they got that part together. That's
they had
liquid gold coming out of the ground over there, and they're using that money.
Yes, sir. Which is one of the reasons why they don't want to see the oil industry tank. But that's a whole different discussion for a different day. But hey, man, it was good hanging out with you for the fantasy show.
Absolutely.
Are you going to be around this Wednesday or?
This Wednesday, I will check the schedule and see. I know between this Wednesday and next Wednesday, because I'm going to be going to Korea here soon. So I know between this Wednesday and next Wednesday, I should be able to make it. At least one more show before I'm gone for a couple weeks.
Oh, you're going to Korea, huh?
Yeah, I'm going to be in South Korea from the 12th through like the 23rd, something like that.
Have you ever been there before?
No. So my girlfriend's Korean, and she's from Jersey, so she's never been to Korea a day in her life.
Okay.
She's more like Jersey, because when I tell people my girlfriend's Korean, there's an assumption, I guess, that she came straight from Korea, but she's really from New Jersey. Never been to Jersey girl, never been to Korea. So it'll be interesting. That's the reason why I'm going there. I've always wanted to go to Asia in general. I don't know if Korea would have been my first place I would have gone to if I wasn't just dating somebody. But at the same time, it should be interesting. We're going to fly there, and we're going to go be on we're going to fly to an island out there named Jeju Island, and then we're going to go to Busan on the train.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do like Asia, especially like Japan, and
yeah, that's where I wanted to go. That was my number one on the list.
The food in Japan, there's a lot of restrictions as far as Western culture is concerned in Japan.
No doubt.
But Korea was one of the places that I never really went to. My father earned a Bronze Star at Chosin Reservoir, and I guess I got his hatred for the cold. So I ended up a little south in a little country called Vietnam.
Yeah, it's not a bad either. It's not a bad place to be.
No, from what I hear, it's very good.
But it's a very different situation. Depending on what time you were going. I'll tell you.
I've been actually thinking about joining some of the veterans groups and going back, to some of the places where I, lived and, served my country. But I still like my pho. I still love my food. I still love my Thai food. It's very easy to prepare, and as long as the hardest thing to cook is the rice. If you cook rice, that's so true. I guess we'll talk a little bit more about that before you leave. But this week we have a guest named Miss Tiffany Roderick, who has a website called WW Football.
I saw it in the email that you sent. You sent us an email, and I did see it.
Yeah, and we're going to have Jeffrey Fan in. I want to talk a little bit about what the hell is going on with the ACC. We have an ACC.
If things keep going the way they're going, man, we're going to end up emulating NFL. It's going to be two conferences.
That's like you say, that's just going to be about it. But I have a Miss Tiffany Roderick, not Broderick. She's coming on and she has actually started a group. I think it's First and 10 LLC that teaches
Interesting.
women about football. So go to her website, check her out a little bit, and we'll talk about that. And then I'm going to have Bo back. I don't think you were at that show, but the we just happened that our show falls September 6th, which
September
is
6th.
which is the Wednesday before opening night.
Okay.
So,
And I think that one might be good for me. Hold on, I could probably look at that now and see. Hold on, that one I think is good for me. Yes, let's plan on that. I will definitely make that one because that'll be the last one I can do before I leave anyway.
all right, well that'll be our NFL preview. I'll probably have another guest besides Bo, and we'll kick off the season with a bang. So, hey man, enjoy yourself. Glad you were able to stick around with me, man.
Absolutely,
And,
always a pleasure.
have a good day at work. Hope you don't have to exert too much sweat. And
Now it'll be a light day today.
all right, well, hey, I'll hopefully we'll see you Wednesday.
All right, my friend. Talk to you later. Always a pleasure.
All right, you have a good day.
All right, see you later.
All right. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Of course, as usual, we always run over, but thank everyone for joining us on our fantasy football cast. And we look forward to talking to everyone Wednesday on the Sports Crib.